Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about The Invisible Thread. The Invisible Thread is an Italian comedy drama that tells the story of Leone Ferrari, a high school student with an interesting family upbringing, having been raised by his two gay fathers and born via surrogate by an American woman. Although their family dynamic is unusual, everyone is happy like a normal family would be. As Leone goes about his school life and prepares a documentary project about his family, a sudden revelation is made that turns the family upside down, and Leone and his parents must figure out how to manage this crisis while continuing to fight against the Italian law system to recognize their family status. I was surprised at how much social commentary was stuffed into this movie's story. It has a lot of great messages to say about the legal status of surrogate children and gay parents, and though these messages can be muddled at times, the characters' performances do make up for it. Leone has a lot on his plate to deal with, like many other high school students do. His friend circle is small, he doesn't socialize much, and he doesn't have much of a love life. This last point proves to be a big issue for him, as even though he's straight, he deals with the stigma of being gay just because his parents are gay. I connected to the struggles that he had to deal with, as I grew up with a friend who had lesbian parents, and she also dealt with the stigma of supposedly being gay even though I knew she wasn't. It was disheartening to see people mock Leone's sexuality, so it was easy for me to sympathize with him. Despite this, he doesn't stay down for long. He's slowly able to build a friend group who comes to accept him for who he is, and he gets enough confidence to confess his feelings for a girl named Anna, which proved to be its own cute little subplot as their relationship provides Leone a refuge from the events to follow. The only thing I found disappointing about Leone was his lack of participation in the documentary, which only appears at the beginning and end of the movie. Perhaps the point of it was to show how its events are similar to those which happen in real life, but it still seems kind of weird considering how much he clearly enjoys filming. It even affects his relationships with other characters in weird ways, like with his best friend Jacopo, who works on the documentary with him. They have a falling out related to the doc, only for them to hang out again like nothing ever happened. If the movie had featured him filming here and there, capturing the story of his family, warts and all, I think it would have made its messages more meaningful. And don't get me wrong, the messages that are there are still fantastic. One of the best things about this movie is how it portrays not just a blended family, but a unique blended family, consisting of Leone's male parents Simone and Paolo, and a surrogate mother named Tilly who comes from a completely different country. Both Simone and Paolo are great characters in their own right, with both of them making sacrifices in their careers for the sake of providing a better life for Leone. Each of them have their own interesting backstories, and it was awesome to see Leone come from such a loving family. This is further enhanced with the character of Tilly, one of the few English-speaking characters. I found her to be the source of the most emotional weight in the story due to her connection with Leone, and her performance conveys these emotions well as she plays the role of a quasi-mother figure as best as she can without getting involved as an actual parent. The event that changes things between the family is something I remain a bit mixed on. Paolo finds out that Simone has been cheating on him for the past 2 years with a man named Riccardo. On one hand, I did like that this angle was present in that it shows how gay couples have to deal with infidelity and other real relationship issues as much as straight ones do. But on the other hand, Riccardo isn't all that fleshed out as a character, and there's no reason given as to why Simone is in love with him beyond just physical attraction. Considering how much detail was put into the history between Simone and Paolo, it's disappointing that the filmmakers didn't do the same for Simone and Riccardo. It never ends up being a huge deal though, as it remains successful in promoting the positive family dynamic between Leone and his parents without shying away from the issues that come from it either, which is my favorite thing about it. It highlights several issues that don't seem like a big deal at first glance, but the more they added up, the more surprised I became. For example, Anna's brother Dario is secretly gay, and he puts up a macho personality in front of others to mask it. When he learns about Leone's parents, he assumes that Leone is gay too, only to be met with resistance from a straight Leone, which causes him to get aggressive again. This is just one of many examples where people make assumptions about Leone and his family, and the audience sees how it affects them. The biggest incident occurs with how the Italian law system treats gay couples, specifically in determining who the real father of Leone is purely based on biological connection. This becomes more complicated when Simone and Paolo split and are already aggravated by the pain of being separated, and despite being a very specific situation, it feels natural in how it develops. I'm glad that movies like this exist to provide representation for demographics who aren't often talked about, and to prove that they struggle as much as others, if not more so. The movie isn't completely dire and dramatic though. It has plenty of time to shake things up and throw in some comedy. Much of it comes from misunderstandings that the general public have about Leone and his parents, who never take things personally and usually laugh off most of the ignorance that comes their way, as well as some passionate arguments that come up between the two parents. Probably the funniest moment is how Simone and Paolo try to one-up each other by destroying expensive items they both own. Paolo goes after Simone's wine collection, while Simone tears apart Paulo's Prada suits. Even though I appreciate the dramatic moments between the two, they also have this kind of pettiness that one might expect out of an old married couple, and it was hilarious to see it in action. Sometimes scenes can have weird tonal shifts between the comedy and the drama. Most of it has to do with the music, which tends to be upbeat and energetic during times where it's serious and thus not exactly appropriate for the scene. It doesn't happen often enough to be annoying, but there were a few times where it left me scratching my head. Above all else, it has a great message about how family goes beyond just blood connection, hence where the movie gets its title from. Almost every character has their own arc which begins and ends, and their stories are presented in a lighthearted tone which makes them easy to digest while having their subject matter presented seriously when a scene calls for it. Overall, The Invisible Thread is a wonderful dramedy that promotes love and acceptance for all families while highlighting the challenges that families with gay parents experience. If you like family-oriented dramas and you want to see one that has a social message behind its narrative, you would definitely enjoy checking this one out. This movie proved to be an educational experience that allowed me to look at blended families in a new light. The comedy can be iffy at times and some narrative elements aren't explored to their full potential, but when it's all said and done, it's a pleasure to see the thread that connects this movie's pieces together. What did you think about this movie? Were you impressed by its portrayal of blended families as I was, or was its comedy a bit too silly at times? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of The Invisible Thread. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the American comedy thriller, Fresh. Bye bye!